Hey guys, Super Godzilla Final Wars here, and today I'm going to be discussing a very interesting what-if theory. And this what-if theory is basically going to be about what if Godzilla 2000 was the main Godzilla in the Millennium series of Godzilla. If you don't know what I am talking about, I basically am talking about, like, what if instead of changing every single Godzilla design to look different from the last design, what if Toho just stuck with Godzilla 2000 as the main guy? Because let's look back at it. In the Millennium series of Godzilla, we have gotten basically many different versions of Godzilla. We got Godzilla 2000, who goes by the name of Millennium Goji. We got Godzilla, Ghost Godzilla, or GMK, or, well, you know, what some people prefer to call him, Ghost Godzilla. We got Kiru Goji, and lastly, we got Godzilla Final Wars. We have gotten many different versions of Godzilla in the Millennium series that it's honestly not that funny, actually. We also need to keep in mind the fact that Godzilla 2000 was, well, the Godzilla that basically kind of started the whole Millennium series. And a lot of people do consider Godzilla 2000 movie as being a somewhat of a very fun and amazing movie to watch. And, well, since I am a huge Godzilla 2000 fan, obviously I'm going to be talking about, well, yeah, what if he was like the main Godzilla for basically the Millennium series. Now, there could be a lot of different ideas of how the Millennium series could have continued with Godzilla 2000 as the main Godzilla. And one of these things that some people had a problem with the Millennium era is that they rebooted this series, the Millennium series, 4 times. They rebooted the Millennium series 4 times. Now, some people may not really mind about that, while others are kind of annoyed about it, and honestly, I am kind of one of them. I'm actually annoyed that they decided to reboot the franchise, like this movie series, like 4 times. Like, why were they rebooting it 4 times? It just doesn't make any sense to me, honestly. So, the way how I see that Godzilla 2000 continuing the Millennium series of Godzilla is, well, they stopped rebooting the series, instead having every movie be a direct sequel to Godzilla 2000. because well, he is highly considered as one of the most popular Godzilla designs. He has appeared in a lot of video games, a lot of comic books, and yeah, Godzilla 2000 is very popular when it comes to its fans. But how would this series continue with him? Well, like I said, all they have to do was just stop rebooting the franchise 4 times. Just stop rebooting the franchise 4 times. Now, how would this change all the other films? Godzilla vs. Megaguirus, Godzilla, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, Godzilla Tokyo SOS, and finally, Godzilla Final Wars, which is the last movie in the Millennium era of Godzilla. Well, for starters, we have to look back at Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. That movie was basically more like a what if the Oxygen Destroyer was never used, and Godzilla basically survives. And, well, it's not really considered as the same Godzilla that stopped Orga in his own movie. He's basically considered as a completely different Godzilla. He's just considered as the first Godzilla, but alive. Which, honestly, I found that annoying, because, like, at first I was just like, why are they mentioning in the events that happened after Godzilla vs. Godzilla 2000? Is this not the same Godzilla? Now, keep in mind, I was young at the time, so I didn't really know that they rebooted the franchise 4 times. And, of course, there is that unmade sequel of Godzilla 2000 that was in the works at the moment, but it never got made. Now, so here is one of 2 things that could happen with that sequel. Number 1, it could still be made, but the problem that Toho had with the movie was that Godzilla basically died in that unmade sequel, and the military had to make a clone of Godzilla in order to beat the monster that was featured in that movie. Now, this was scrapped and replaced with Godzilla being put into a coma, and the military wakes him up. Which, honestly, I find that a bit more better than the whole cloning idea thing, because, again, I hate the idea of, like, cloning Godzilla just to, make a new Godzilla in order to battle the big bad monster. And I find it even more difficult to believe that the military somehow brought down Godzilla. Because, well, we all know that Godzilla is practically hard to kill when it comes to him battling the military, because, well, he's basically unstoppable. He is basically like a god. Now, that unmade sequel could still happen with Godzilla being knocked out, not dead, but knocked out. And maybe that movie could still be a direct sequel to Godzilla 2000. Now, what about Megaguirus? That movie could be a sequel to, well, the sequel to Godzilla 2000, which was Godzilla Reborn. Honestly, I found Rebirth a bit more interesting, but still. Anyways. That could most likely be a sequel to Reborn. Now, this is where things will be interesting, because here we're going to be moving on to Giant Monsters All-Out Attack. In Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, we are introduced with the idea that Godzilla died in 1954 and had to battle Mothra, Baragon, and King Ghidorah. Now, how would this change if Godzilla 2000 became the main Godzilla? Would GMK Godzilla still exist in this universe, or no? Well, here is my answer. Yes. And here's why. Now, keep in mind, this was before, I think, Toho had a problem with Godzilla being a species, and I think that was for the Monsterverse. I don't know if they have a problem with them making their own species of Godzilla, but if they don't, then that means, well, yeah. Maybe we could have two Godzillas in this movie, and Godzilla 2000 sees Ghost Godzilla as a competition. Because, well, in Godzilla -1, it was the human characters mentioned that Godzilla must have claimed Japan as his territory. Now, big predators do not tolerate another predator, even if it's their own species in their land. It is their territory, and they work their butt off to claim it. And he sees Ghost Godzilla as a threat. So most likely, Godzilla 2000 will most likely team up with Mothra, Baragon, and King Ghidorah to take down Ghost Godzilla. And maybe instead of GMK Godzilla killing himself, it would be Godzilla 2000 who would probably kill him. Because let's say that Mothra and Baragon and King Ghidorah gifted Godzilla 2000 their power and energy, giving Godzilla 2000 the power he needs to actually kill GMK. Plus, a lot of fans have basically declared those two as arch enemies towards each other. It's kind of the same situation that Legendary Godzilla and Shin Godzilla are in, where basically the fandom declared that Monsterverse Godzilla and Shin Godzilla are like arch enemies or something like that. So the same thing could be for Godzilla 2000 and GMK. They are basically arch enemies. Now, what about Godzilla against Mechagodzilla? Well, will that still happen, but different? Probably. It could still happen. And just very, very, very different. Right. Instead of just, Godzilla being gone for many years and Japan being attacked by monsters, it would be Godzilla who just keeps on attacking Japan, and, well, Japan makes Mechagodzilla, aka Kiru, to fight Godzilla. This will mean that Kirigoji in this universe will not exist, and, well, Millennium Goji will take its place.